All right, what's up, Real GM Radio? I am Wes Goldberg. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for subscribing on your favorite podcast app. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube to stick with us throughout the rest of the NBA Finals and the NBA offseason. We have big plans for the Finals and for the offseason, so you're going to want to keep up. Real GM Radio here the morning after Game 3 of the NBA Finals with just a bunch of reactions. But before I get into the game, I want to zoom out and go big picture. This Indiana Pacers team is for real. This Pacers team is for real. I've been trying to tell you. I've picked them in every series in these playoffs except for the NBA Finals. I did have the Thunder in 5 games. But I said in my prediction a tight 5 games, and I wasn't dismissing the Pacers at all. But I'm not even trying to make this a victory lap thing, okay? I just want everybody to know this Pacers team is for real. And now that they're up 2-1 in these finals, I don't know what else to tell you if you don't think that they're for real. This team continues to go out and prove that they can win games on the road. They can win games at home. They do not lose back-to-back playoff games, and they are now the first team seeded 4th or lower to take a 2-1 lead in the finals since the Rockets in 1995. And we remember about that Rockets team. They won the championship. So TBD on whether or not these Pacers win the championship. But once you go up 2-1 in a finals, all right, you're real. I don't care how the rest of these finals play out. And maybe you could say, well, they made the finals, so they're for real. I don't know. It didn't seem like that based on how people were talking about this Pacers team, talking about the Thunder having a cakewalk and all these things. Again, I picked the Thunder in 5. I never thought it was going to be a cakewalk. I thought this was going to be a very competitive, very tight series. I just thought that the Thunder were going to pull these games out in the end. But it turns out it's been the Pacers who have been better down the stretch for 2 out of these 3 games. I will get into the game here in a second, but at the end of this one, when it became clear that Indiana was going to win, I kept thinking about Game 1 and how that game could be the game that tilts the finals. I still think the Thunder are the better basketball team on paper. I think they're the better basketball team overall. If they played 100 games with the Pacers, they'd probably win 60 or 70 of those games. Okay, but you don't play 100 games in the finals. You play 7. And as much as I think the Thunder are the better team, I don't know that they're so good that they can beat the Pacers 5 times out of 7, which is essentially what they would have to do in order to win the championship. Maybe they can. I don't know. I probably still pick the Thunder to win the finals, but that's what they would have to do, because Indiana went into Game 1 and just straight stole that game. They stole that game. The Thunder were the better team for 99% of Game 1, and then we all remember what happened, the 15-point comeback, Tyrese Haliburton shot at the end. If the Pacers actually do this thing and win the championship, if they pull this off, Game 1 goes down as one of the most interesting games in finals history. Tyrese Haliburton's shot goes down as one of the great shots in NBA Finals history. And that Game 1 comeback goes down as one of the great comebacks. If the Pacers pull this off, and here was the other thing I was thinking down the stretch of that game, Haliburton doing his thing, closing the game like a pro. What a response from Tyrese Haliburton. Reggie Miller sitting there courtside. I couldn't help but think, if the Pacers pull this off, does Tyrese Haliburton instantly become the greatest Pacer of all time? That's a tough question. I don't know. You'd probably have to ask a Pacers fan, and my guess is that a Pacers fan would probably still go with Reggie Miller just because of the longevity, what he means to the franchise, how many games he played with the Pacers, where he is in all the franchise record books, all that stuff. But Haliburton will have a ring, and that's something Reggie Miller never did. And he will have led this Pacers team to one of the most improbable championships of all time in NBA history. And that's all-time stuff, man. Like, that is stuff that vaults you up rankings and history indexes and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to ask a Pacers fan, but Haliburton's got a really good argument if they do this. And what that means to Siakam, winning 2 championships, 2 of which were the first in franchise history, one with the Raptors and then potentially here with Indiana. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but these are just things I'm thinking about at the end of game 3 when it became clear that the Pacers were going to go ahead and win that game. And that speaks to that moment and how big all of this really is.